Imagine like holding the fate of your spaceship in your hands, knowing the only way to survive is to literally blow half your paycheck out into the vacuum of space.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in.
Right. But that is the brutal reality at the heart of Atlas Knight
Yeah.
legend. I mean, we usually expect our sci-fi epics to hand us a glowing sword and, some grand prophecy.
Absolutely, the classic chosen one trope.
Exactly. But our mission for this exploration into the source material is to extract the vital insights from a story that throws all those tropes right out the airlock.
Because saving the galaxy in this universe, it isn't about destiny. It's about the gritty and honestly often boring mechanics of survival and accountability.
Yeah, it really is. And, since you probably already know how the protagonist, Roy Vincent, walked away from his safe life, I mean, he had a 3.8 GPA and a cushy GAU internship lined up just to take a sketchy apprenticeship with a space trucker. We really need to look at the psychology behind that.
It's a massive pivot.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this. Why does he choose this trucker, Joran Vare, over the religious safety of his home on the artificial world of Zebulon? He even turns down his family's demand for missionary work.
Well, it really comes down to the nature of the burden he's being asked to carry. The religious dogma of his hometown, Ironwell, demanded that Roy carry their story.
Right, like a forced obedience.
Exactly. A top-down enforced obedience to, a counterfeit ideal.
Yeah.
The void of space. The void demands that you only carry what is real.
Ah, the ledger philosophy.
You've got it. Space doesn't care about your GPA or your sermons. You either deliver the cargo or you starve.
Which brings us directly back to that incredibly tense scene with Container 4.
Yep, that scene is phenomenal.
So tense. The freighter is hauling this magnetically suspended ore, right? A clamp fails and the ship is literally tearing itself apart. And Joran forces Roy to vent the container, sacrificing half their pay.
Just letting it all go.
Yeah. And I mean, think about this for your own life. When you're looking at cutting your losses on, like, a doomed startup or walking away from a toxic relationship just to save your own sanity, you are basically venting Container 4 to save your ship.
That's close, but let's be clear about the scale here. A doomed project is usually just capital or time. Joran's ledger is about literal oxygen and blood.
Oh, wow, true.
It's a completely different stakes game. I mean, Joran's logic isn't just about cutting financial losses. It's recognizing that, quote, profit's not the ledger. Survival is.
Okay, but I have to push back here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Isn't Joran just trading one heartless master for another? Like, Joran's trucker logic feels just as cold and dogmatic as the sermons Roy ran away from on Zebulon.
What's fascinating here is the absolute distinction between those two masters. Ironwell asked Roy to sacrifice his agency for an illusion.
Right.
Joran, on the other hand, asked Roy to sacrifice inanimate cargo to preserve living, breathing humans. It is cold, yeah, but it is grounded entirely in truth. It's what forges Roy's internal steel.
And he desperately needs that steel, too, because the ledger alone just isn't enough. You can't just survive. You actually have to choose who you're going to carry.
Exactly. It's the shift from the purely mechanical to the moral.
Which is where the concept of localized care comes in. Let's look at Alara. She's a bartender with a damaged leg, and she earns Roy's loyalty instantly.
And why is that?
Because when he walks in looking completely beaten down, she pours him a glass of water before she ever tries to sell him alcohol.
It's the water poured before the whiskey. A very specific, localized promise of care.
Yeah, and that single act builds the foundation of his whole crew when he eventually inherits the ship. I mean, he gets Galaxus, this illegally smart droid, with his sentience throttle cranked to, 87%?
Yeah, 87%, and holding all the galaxy's maps in his head.
Right. And then he gets Cade the mechanic and Gate Warden Saul, and here's where it gets really interesting to me. They are outlaws. They run illegal logs and aftermarket sensors.
Very much operating outside the law.
But Alara literally etches a brass plate for their console. It reads, "Hold lines. Warn first. Disable only. No pride shots. 2 keys." They have built a stricter, more humane moral code than the actual galactic law enforcement.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly explains why the top-down systems in this universe are failing.
Like the GAU.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True morality isn't compliance with a massive, faceless bureaucratic system like the GAU. It's the localized promises we make to the people standing right next to us.
Yeah, they survive because they trust each other's competence, not because they, read the same employee handbook.
Precisely, which perfectly sets up the massive ideological collision at Irvine Depths.
Oh, man. Irvine depths. That's where you have Roy's localized morality slamming headfirst into the reverse meritocracy of the New California Space Corps.
And we really have to look at the mechanism of how that reverse meritocracy actually functions in the story. It's a system that incentivizes paperwork and profit over human life.
And CEO Octavian Sloan is the ultimate embodiment of that nightmare. I mean, he deliberately releases a biological spore virus on his own researchers.
Turning them into literal monsters.
Yes, purely to create a galactic panic so he can turn around and sell the cure. It's so twisted.
It is. And then he tries to trap Roy by claiming Alara works for them.
Which backfires spectacularly. Roy had just been gifted the prototype J-carbon armor from a dying tech, Tom Calder. This stuff is like 20 times stronger than steel and comes with a sword.
A huge upgrade for him.
Huge. And Roy uses a water bottle packed with C4 and a stolen spore vial to completely blindside Sloan's ambush and save his wife. But ethically, Sloan is basically the dark mirror to everything Joran taught Roy, right?
Exactly. Sloan is the absolute perversion of the ledger. Remember, Joran sacrificed the cargo to save the ship.
Right, the ore for the crew.
Right, but
Actually,
Sloan is sacrificing the ship, meaning humanity itself, just to secure the cargo of wealth and power.
So what does this all mean when Roy takes that prototype J-carbon armor and actually goes on the offensive? Because he raids the 6 spore production stations, and at Station 6, he meets Aetherian.
Ah, Aetherian. He offers a totally different flavor of the same corruption.
Yeah, he wants to use the virus for a soul crash, essentially breaking humanity's spirit with fear to force everyone into this perfectly controlled, post-scarcity utopia.
Aetherian believes he can use evil to fight evil.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Aetherian's cold mathematical logic, crashing souls now to save billions of lives later in a utopia, doesn't that sound an awful lot like Joran venting cargo for the sake of survival?
It might sound similar if you're just looking at a spreadsheet, sure. But the mechanical difference is everything. Joran sacrificed deadweight the ore to save lives.
Okay, yeah.
Aetherian is sacrificing living souls to save a political ideal.
You're cutting into the floor we all have to stand on. That's what Roy tells him.
Precisely. Roy proves that walking the honest road means you never surrender ground truth for philosophical victory. You don't burn the bridge while people are still crossing it.
Wow, and that's exactly why Roy convinces Aetherian to defect, right? They realize they can repurpose the virus technology to grow healthy meat and cells to end world hunger rather than weaponize it.
It's a brilliant pivot. And that ground truth philosophy dictates exactly how the climax plays out in Los Angeles.
The final drop. They bring the fight right to the corporate doorstep on Earth.
Right. And Roy takes a prototype slush-like 32-degree vaccine just so he can lead the assault from the front.
Alongside his crew, Jax, Darius, and Orin. They finally corner Sloan, but Sloan triggers Project Starfall. It's this nuclear satellite linked directly to his heartbeat.
The ultimate dead man's switch.
Yeah. If Roy kills him, Earth burns. Now, in a standard sci-fi story, Roy would use his fancy J-carbon sword to absorb the blast, making some godlike sacrifice.
But that would violate the entire premise of the ledger.
Exactly. Instead, Jax uses his spectral speed hacking to loop the heartbeat signal. Roy just pins Sloan without killing him.
Then, instead of a dramatic explosion, a team of quiet, grease-stained Earth engineers climb into the system and just dismantle the satellite threat.
I love that so much.
It is a beautiful subversion. The universe is saved by coordinated competence. The Atlas Knight held the line, sure, but the community solved the crisis.
And look at how this applies to you, the listener. How often do you think you need to be the Atlas, carrying the weight of your job, your family, or your entire world all by yourself?
When in reality, you probably don't.
Right. You just need to hold your specific line and let the people around you carry the weight with you. Just like the community they build at the Resonant Horizon colony at the end of the story.
If we distill this entire exploration down, Atlas Knight, legend teaches us that true freedom isn't running away from every burden. It is having the grit to choose the burdens that actually matter.
And, having the courage to drop the counterfeit ones.
But this raises an important question, something for you to chew on after we wrap up today.
Ooh, let's hear it.
So, at the end of the story, they established the Resonant Horizon colony, a community built entirely on this shared philosophy. But if true freedom is defined by the brutal choices of survival in the void, what happens when there are no more immediate threats?
Oh, that's interesting.
Can the ledger philosophy actually survive in peacetime, or does a lack of existential danger inevitably breed a brand new reverse meritocracy? So look at your own ledger today. Are you carrying dead weight just because society, your family, or your job told you it was mandatory?
What is one counterfeit burden you can cut loose today so that your ship can finally fly straight?
Exactly.
Oh, that is a fantastic question to leave on. Thank you all for joining us on this exploration. Keep traveling the honest road, and remember to trust the mechanics of your own survival. Catch you next time.